Welcome to Padelspeed Podcast. I'm Rebecca Baker and I'm lucky to be joined here today with Sarah Jane Perry, former world number 5 squash player. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks, Rebecca. So good to be here. Thank you.
Great. So if we can just talk about a little bit about you. Firstly, talking about squash, how did you get into squash?
I started playing around the age of 5. My dad used to play at our local squash club, which is a small members club just near Sutton Coldfield, just on the outskirts of Birmingham. It was called Four Oaks Squash Club, still there now. So when we were about 5, he started taking me and my brother down to the junior sessions at the club, and then we moved to Kenilworth in Warwickshire when I was about 8 years old, and just the club there got more and more involved and just started enjoying it more, started playing more. And then from about 11, I started playing some tournaments.
Oh, lovely. So did you start off with tournaments and then start playing county representation and international representation? Yeah.
So when I was a bit younger, then there was a group of us at the club, the same age. So I've got a twin brother, so he was automatically had an automatic rival in him, who also played. But there was about 4 other, all boys, but that didn't bother me because I had a brother, so I didn't care. There wasn't any other girls in the training squad, but there was a group of us, and we were all very competitive amongst each other. So for a long time, it wasn't actually about any external competition outside the club. I just used to go enjoy that sort of rivalry. And then probably when I was about 11, I went to the tennis. The Warwickshire tennis county closed. I was playing tennis as well, and I got absolutely annihilated in the main draw and in the plate. And then the very next weekend, I went to the squash equivalent at Covent North Warwick Squash Club, and I came 3rd out of 4. And so by coming 3rd, though, it was great. You're in the team. So that was sort of my first foray into county squash. And then potentially around that time also started playing some of the sort of local tournaments. I guess they'd be the equivalent of the bronze level tournaments that the juniors have now. And I didn't excel at junior level on a national stage until the older age groups. I only ever represented England at under 19 level, and only ever won 1 British Junior Championships, which was at under 19 level as well. So yeah, then went off to university, and then at the end of university decided to give pro squash a go.
So is there any reason, do you feel that having that break from squash then made you realise you missed it and wanted to go back and, put more into it?
I think before I went to university, I wasn't mentally or physically ready to play professional squash. I had a chronic knee injury which needed some treatment, and once I'd finished my junior career, which was my first year at the end of my first year of university, I had that looked at more, and then I had a small surgery at the start of my second year on my knee. So I wasn't actually sure whether professional squash was for me, and I certainly didn't go through university with an outlook of progressing on to professional squash afterwards. So in hindsight, I probably could have done things a little bit differently to set myself up better for that when I got there, but it wasn't actually at the forefront of my mind to do it. So I love squash, and I knew I enjoyed being competitive, but I'd kind of been given, not from my coach or my family, but from a lot of other sort of external sources, kind of a view that I was a good junior, but professional squash probably wasn't going to be for me, whether that was because of my injuries or just that I wasn't as agile or as nimble or as fit as some of the other players. So I didn't actually consider it until right at the end of my university time, just before my final exams, which is a great time to decide. Thankfully, I still did okay in them. And then, it was a long journey ahead of me after that, working out what actually it meant to be a professional squash player, not just to there's a lot else apart from just going to play tournaments.
So going on from what you just said of, not knowing what you needed to be a professional squash player, what would you say, is involved to become a professional player?
I was very lucky in that period, I will say, to have to have a lot of support from my parents and my coach at the time, Steve Townsend, who's a coach for a long time, and they were great supporters of me. They didn't, they willed me on and pushed me when I needed it because I wanted to do it, but they never pushed me to do things I didn't want to do. And so I think that was quite important. And then I was able to join in some of the England squash. They used to be called a transitional squad, so between the juniors and the seniors, and learn from some of the seniors in that process. So things like keeping a training diary, which could then be every so often either one of the senior players or one of the senior coaching team at England Squash would have a look at it and see and give you feedback on it. And that kind of gave you more of an idea of if you're doing all the right things, and then having access to the support, like the strength and conditioning and things like that I'd not really paid any attention to it at junior level, and is important then, but is even more important at that senior level to succeed on the world stage. So I think just going from enjoying a lack of structure, I then had to learn to get enough structure, and when I started to see the results from that, and then it was easier to then stick with that, I think, and learn what I needed to do for my body that worked for me as well was very important.
So what would your training week look like in terms of squash training, physical training, strength and conditioning? How often would you train during a week?
I think that changed quite a lot from the start of my career to the end. I think most professional squash players will probably agree with me that there's a lot of sort of hard yards you need to put in at the start that you can't necessarily do when you're the other side of 30 onwards. So I think at the start it was putting a lot of those building up that not only endurance and things like that, but actually the intensity as well. So learning what it was to actually train hard as well as actually what it was. And then towards the end, we had a phrase that we used quite a lot with my strength conditioning coach, which was minimum effective dose. What's the least we can do to get you in the best position possible? Because we knew the more I did after that, it wasn't going to give me much more benefit, but might increase the injury risk, increase fatigue, and some other things. So if I was going to say a sort of typical week, probably somewhere in the middle of the pack was probably, I'd probably do maybe 5 squash hits a week, which would be like pairs practices or coach feeding sessions. And that would be anything from sort of an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes, something like that. And then on top of that, I'd have probably 2 or 3 matches, whether that's league matches or then ones you've organised around that for that practice. And then 2 to 3 strength sessions in the gym, as well as 2 to 3 cardio sessions. For me, all of my cardio sessions were off feet to protect my joints. So a lot of time spent on a watt bike. Actually have one at home, spent that much time on one, and also things like the cross trainer and things like that as well to just minimize that impact. But then on top of that, you've also got done the further into my career, I got the more Pilates and things I had to do. Yoga I did quite a bit of yoga early on, but then kind of worked out that Pilates suited me better, as well as then a lot of physio, a lot of massage, and all of the other kind of recovery things as well that are really, really important. So usually I'd train Monday to Friday and then like a half day on a Saturday. So I'd have try and be done by lunchtime on Saturday and then have sort of a day and a half to recover. And then later on in my career, probably also have like a Wednesday would be like a half a day as well. So have a bit of a mini recovery in the middle of the week, then go again, try and keep that intensity up.
So in terms of fueling your body to keep up with that level of training, would you follow any kind of diet or take any supplements?
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing that's the research and has become more prominent and everything over the span of my career. For the last sort of 4 or 5 years of my career, I worked with a nutritionist before that, but I worked with a guy called Chris Lowe for the last sort of 4 to 5 years, who was very, very good and helped me a lot. And it's sometimes you know what you should be doing, but it's just that extra bit of confidence in it, but just making sure that you're getting the right things and the right timing that's going to help you the best. And then they also go and read up on all the research for you, and you go, right, well, actually, one of the things that came out in the last few years out of some of the studies is everyone's quite aware of creatine for muscle benefits, but actually the last few years, a lot of studies about the sort of mental performance benefits of a higher dose of creatine. So Chris advised me, right, so actually before matches, then if I was at all sleep deprived, sometimes a lot of the time at tournaments it's quite hard to sleep very well, so you're often a little bit short on sleep, or especially when there's adrenaline after matches and things. So if I was, then we'd had a higher dose of creatine at a specific time before the match and things like that as well. So that gave me a lot more sort of confidence in that. And I think, I won my arguably my biggest tournament a few months after I started working with him. So I saw those benefits kind of straight away.
Yeah. So you've travelled all over the world playing squash. How do you prepare for tournaments, in different environments and things like that?
I think a lot of it's kind of experience and trying to have control of the things you can control without them controlling you, if that makes sense. So in being prepared is a massive thing. So if you're going to somewhere and you're worried about certain like foods or whatever that you would normally want around matches and things like that, the further along in my career I got, the more things I wanted to take with me. Yeah. So I know I had them. So I think that was one of the things, that just having everything I might need at the tournament, so I'm not stressing there. And I think training with the tournaments in mind as well. So some people are great in training and then get to a tournament and freeze. I think I've always sort of relished that challenge of a tournament, whether it's relishing being the higher seed and actually trying to assert your dominance on the court, on the game, or actually challenging that top player that's ranked above you when you're on court with them.
So you've mentioned so far that you've worked with sports psychologists, nutritionalists. Obviously, you've got a coach as well. Is there anyone else who forms part of your team in helping you, in your professional career?
I think definitely the S&C side, which I've definitely mentioned as well. So there's been a few very instrumental strength conditioning coaches, one main sports psychologist for most of my career, 3 main coaches during my career, and then two nutritionists, and then obviously, like I said, alongside that I've had several sort of Pilates and yoga and physiotherapists and things like that as well. But then also he was also one of my sponsors, but he was also a massive mentor for me. And he, particularly before he'd supported me for a long time, but particularly in the build up to the Birmingham Commonwealth Games, he carved out an awful lot of time to help me train and to he himself was a very good sort of master squash player, and his body wasn't loving squash by that point, but he was still getting on court with me once or twice a week and putting me through these brutal sessions and helping me get through them to get me in that best state possible for that games. And he's helped me on and off court with an awful lot of things. And, although I've finished my playing career now, he's still a great mentor in everything post that as well.
Yeah. So when you go away, would anyone travel with you from your coaching sport team?
Not usually, no. A couple of times my coach from the end of my career, Rob Owen, came to a few tournaments, and then also in the last few years we've had more coaches come from, like, the England squash national coaches come to some tournaments as well, so they'd be there to support you through those as well. But for the majority of the time you are there by yourself, and you either have to coach yourself, or one of your friends who's also playing in the tournament's going to coach you in between games. But sometimes it works out that if they're playing after you or whatever, but it is an individual sport, and actually it can be really useful to have someone in your corner between games, usually to stop myself talking to myself too much and just calm that for a minute. But actually, like, you want to make those changes in the game as well. You don't want to have to you don't need to wait till the break. You want to be trying to analyze that all the time.
So, are you still playing squash now, even though you've retired from the professional circuits? Are you still playing?
Yes. So I retired in the start of June, and then I was still playing some leagues and things, and then I had surgery on my hip in mid-August to sort out an impingement and a couple of other bits that needed tidying up. So the surgery went really well and everything. So I'm just back playing squash now. Played my first match back last night, and I will say it wasn't pretty. It was better than I expected, though. But I do expect some. I'm not expecting to reach the heights of even at the end of my career. But I don't think I'm not expecting to move like that ever again. But I think I'd like to still continue to play league squash, and I really enjoy that social side and the connections that I've made through that, and want to continue to make those. So I will hopefully be able to continue playing for a long time.
Yeah, it's good. So what racket are you using at the moment?
So this one here is my squash racket. That's my signature racket that I developed with Harrow. Used this for the last sort of 4 or 5 months of my career. I really enjoyed playing with it, and I absolutely love it. I still play with it and I use it, and I just think I think it looks lovely.
Yep.
I definitely had some input.
Looks lovely, feels lovely.
Yeah, but it's such a great balance of racket, and for me, the main thing about a racket is the balance, and it's I'm a little bit particular with that. So we absolutely smashed out of the park on this one, and it is quite a popular racket with a lot of people, as it is a traditional balance. But I really enjoy playing with that, and the Harrow team did a great job making my design come to life and look really nice as well.
Out of curiosity, what tension do you have in your rackets, and do you have a number of rackets all with the same tension, or do you have a mix?
Yes. So I tended to, again, we talk about being prepared for the tournament. So at my early stages of my career, I used to string all my own rackets, and that was, but then I strung far too many, just got completely done with that. So, for the end half, I got someone to do it for me. And for the last few years, I'd always make sure that I had all my rackets, they're all the same tension, but I'd have them all done before I went to a tournament. I had a bad experience once where I had to get a racket restrung like 4 times a tournament before I could use it, because they were swearing to me it was electric machine that was calibrated perfectly, but actually to me it felt like a board. I think I ended up going down to about 18 pounds, which is
low.
pretty low,
very low,
and it still felt tight to me. Whereas actually, I would argue that I actually play with on an electric machine more like 24, 25. On a non-electric more like 27, 28. Early on in my career, I used to string my rackets at about 32, which was very so I used to play with Prince at the start of my career. So I used to play with the Prince with a power ring strung at 32 pounds, which was probably why I was breaking four strings a week. But yeah, so 24, 25 on the electric, and yeah, all the same. And with the Harrow grips, I use the funky colours, and I like all of them, so I'm not fussy about the colour of those. Some of the grips I've used in the past, I've been a bit fussy on the colours. But yeah, I think I like to have, I probably had a few more rackets than most people as well for most of my career in my bag. So some players travel with 2 rackets, and that stresses me out for them. I was definitely a sort of 5 or 6 racket person, and even when I wasn't actually, I think that stems from when I was breaking. I have a vivid match in mind, which I've mentioned many times before, where I played Noor El Shabini in the qualifying of the World Championships in Rotterdam, probably 20, what would that have been, 2012 maybe 2013, and I was 2-love down. I came back to match ball up in the 5th, and on my one match ball I broke my 3rd string of the match, and so I think I still have nightmares about that one. So I think just having a lot of rackets in my bag ready to go you should never get to the point where you don't have any rackets left. That's just to me is like, I can't fathom that. I've seen many pros do it, many pros, but thankfully it's never happened to me, because I've always made sure I've got plenty.
And talking about equipment or squash shoes, do you have a favourite brands that you use?
I mean, for a long time I was even after you couldn't get them anymore, because I'd bought them all, I was very much a Adidas Stabble, the Adi Power Stabble. I think 12, 11 and 12 were my sort of go-to ones, until I ran out of those, and I haven't really tried the new version of those, to be honest. For a long time I didn't really get on with the Asics, but then over the last sort of probably 4 or 5 years now, I've been wearing the Asics Gel Tactics. Certainly not sponsored or anything like that.
Obviously you've played squash for a very long time. Would you say that the game has developed over the years, and if so, what changes have you seen?
I mean, when I first started playing, it was the Whisper Tour, and we played to English scoring to 9. So my first tournament that I won, I played Tanya Bailey in the final somewhere in Derbyshire. I can't remember what the club's called now, but that was actually, Tanya had to unfortunately retire in the 5th, and that was her last match. So I made her retire. We're good friends now, but not made her. Unfortunately, it was her knee. But so I think that was also the last Whisper tournament ever. Then we turned to WSA, so slightly different organisation. And then not long after that, we swapped to the Point Rally scoring as well. So then, that changed the dynamic of the game quite a lot. And then later on, we swapped to the lower tin as well, which I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit apprehensive wouldn't suit me, because my movement, as much as I worked on it, was never my strength. But actually I think it helped me in an attacking sense. It gave me a bit more license to be a bit more attacking and make the court bigger for my opponents. So I actually really enjoyed that change in tin. I think a good friend of mine, Nicole David, wasn't, she was world number 1 at the time and had been for a long time, so she wasn't the biggest advocate of the change of tin. And I think I think that's correct. I never beat her on a high tin, and I never lost her on a Lowton once we changed. I think it probably also just a change in my level as well. But I think it encouraged that more attacking style and has created a different dynamic on that court of the more physical, more attacking, more exciting play. So I've definitely seen that. And then even though it's not necessarily a change in the actual game, I think the men's and women's tour merging changed the sport for the better. And hopefully we're going to see that with the inclusion in the LA Olympics as well.
Oh, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah, great news that. Yeah. So what coaching are you involved with now?
So I'm doing a variety of coaching at the moment. So like I said, I do some at West Warwick's, which is for my coach, Rob Owen, at his academy with some of the pros that he's got there. So that would usually be a few 2 or 3 mornings a week I do there for him, either just feeding or doing some technical work with the players. He's got about 10 players there full time now, as well as other players that come in. So he's got, and it's really great group and a great environment, and it's really enjoyable to be part of that still. And then I do my own coaching over at Kenilworth, my hometown where I live. And most of the stuff I do there is kind of towards the elite junior end. So I work with about 10 juniors, and most of them are sort of top 5 or 6 in the country. And I can't take claim for any of their successes, and I wouldn't anyway, but they've all they all have other coaches. Most of them have other coaches as well, and I'm just there giving some input and experience.
Yeah.
And then I also work with some pro players, a few of the pro women on the tour that are sort of top 30 and things like that. So I've really enjoyed that side. And then on top of that, I do some stuff for England Squash with I'm coaching on their England development squad this year, which is their best level of juniors. So the top under 19s and the top performing sort of under 17s and things as well. So that's really been really great to get involved with, and I'm learning more and more about the junior setup, which has changed a lot since I was sort of doing it. But it's been quite interesting, and it's that different inputs. I think I'm also trying to learn and adapt as a coach from what I enjoyed, what I'm learning with the kids and the adult pros that I work with as well. I'm also trying to create a bit of an environment at Kenilworth for particularly like the female pros. So I've been doing some like squads that are mainly aimed at the female pros, not solely, but mainly aimed at them for that, environment where they can come and it's not too expensive for them, and they can come and get on court with the other pros and get those good sessions in. And a sort of central location where I am is quite good for that. So that's been really enjoyable. And trying to sort of pass some of that down onto the kids side as well. So I'm doing like a camp before the British Junior Open, and a few other camps in the summer as well, trying to help get the kids as many opportunities as they want to improve. Really, there's a lot of them out there doing really well, and I feel like one of the focuses, particularly for England squash with the juniors, is the sort of technical side. And we've got a lot of very enthusiastic juniors, and some that are quite technically proficient, but some that aren't necessarily as good as others. And I think that's where my technical side is definitely one of my main strengths. So trying to pass that on to some of those juniors and get them some good habits and some good technique going early on is sort of my goal with a lot of that.
So what advice do you generally give to juniors who are aspiring to become pro?
I think a lot of it is, for me, about having a clear vision of what your best squash looks like, but also like how do you play squash that you enjoy? And so I think trying to find a way you enjoy playing and that plays to your strengths as well. Again, like that trying to play a lengthy physical game doesn't play to my strengths. Getting myself in the best possible shape, be able to do that, go with that as much as possible, then be able to implement my own game is how I sort of went about it. But I think, so I kind of say that, but I think there's quite a lot of focus sometimes on when players are young, how much, like, what potential do they have? And I mean, you guys here in Wales know from Joel Makin's journey that's nobody looked at Joel when he was 12 and said, wow, he's going to be number 4 in the world. Just how nobody looked at me and said, I'm going to be number 5 in the world. So, we've come through very different paths and very different players. But neither, the common theme is that at no point in that junior career did anybody go, oh yeah, there's certain players that are, and it's great. You've got the talent, that potential. I mean, we're seeing it, more and more with, Rob also coaches Joan O'Brien. He's doing fantastically well, and he was an exceptional junior from the age of 10. But there's other exceptional juniors at 10 that don't make it to, I think he's got 13 in the world, if I'm not wrong, Jonah already. So, and there's still a lot of potential to go. Hopefully he can realise that. But it's just creating those pathways where those juniors can flourish, but also the ones that progress at different rates and their journey is different, also have that path still, even if it's a bit later on.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so let's talk about padel. Padel seems to be growing really fast in the UK. I hear you started playing?
Yes, I've been playing for probably about 2 years now, yeah.
And what made you get into padel?
So I think I started becoming aware of it as I think there's rumblings at my club about getting courts. So whilst they were building those courts, I actually went and played for the first time at somebody's private court, their house. And then we got 2 courts at my club, and then we've now got further 2 as well. So we've got 4 courts now. So I play on the team for my club, and I play with quite regularly at the club as well.
So are you playing competitively, seriously?
Certainly not seriously. I enjoy it, and it's quite interesting to sort of see what level I can get to a bit. I recently played in the sort of county championships representing Warwickshire, which we weren't really sure what we were walking into there. We went straight up against defending champions first off, and didn't win, but didn't get embarrassed either. So that was quite interesting to compete against some of the sort of higher ranked players in the UK and see where you might be able to get to sort of amongst them as well at some point. I like to play a little bit more, but depends on sort of time restrictions and things like that. But I know I have been enjoying playing. Well,
I'm completely new to padel, so I'm hoping you'll take me on court later and, show me how it's played, tell me the rules. But what equipment do you need to play padel?
I think that's one of the things with padel is it's so easy to just sort of get going. All you need is the 4, I think they're technically called rackets. I call them bats. Some bats and a tube of the paddle balls. So the paddle balls are very similar as tennis balls, just I believe a little bit heavier and a little bit less pressurized. But yeah, so I mean, this is my racket of choice, and it's so obviously I use the Harrow for the squash as well, and they also make paddle. So this is the Nova that I use, and I've been playing with this one now for a year or so, and it's got one little scuff and that's it. So I think a lot of people go through paddle rackets quicker than they go through the squash rackets, but for me this one's been pretty pretty durable, and I know some people sort of suffered with elbow and things as well, whereas I really like this one because I've got an history of elbow injury, and I don't have any problems playing padel with this. I really like the sort of control element on it. I probably could go for a more powerful racket if I wanted, but I actually really just enjoy the control, and containing the power is probably the more important for me.
Coming from a squash background, what would you say the difference is between padel and squash?
I think potentially like the barrier to entry for the skill wise for padel is lower than squash, and obviously mostly padel's played as doubles, not singles. There is singles courts, but not too many of them. But I think for me, the speed of squash is a lot higher, and the actual effort in the workout is a lot more as well. So I think I get a much better workout from squash. My heart rate gets a lot higher. Even a competitive racquetball match, my heart rate is going a lot higher, whereas a competitive padel match, even if we're having good rallies and it's quite lengthy, I think my heart rate is going to get nowhere near the level it will playing racquetball or squash. But I like the different challenge of the tactics are definitely different to squash, and there's elements of squash that come into it as well. I grew up playing tennis too, so I think the volleying comes a bit more naturally to me in the padel than it does to a lot of squash players.
Yeah.
You see a lot of squash players volleying the ball and it going straight into the back glass, which is out, which I'll tell you in a bit. But I think that comes a little bit more naturally to me, and I enjoy the the combination of both. And I don't actually play tennis. I haven't played tennis for a long time now, so it's quite nice to have elements of that in there as well, though.
Yeah. So you've played a number of racket sports then. So you've mentioned racquetball and tennis as well. I can see you've got a racquetball racket there as well. So do you play much racquetball?
I probably play a bit more now as well. I think when people ask me now, I kind of say yes. I definitely want to play league squash. I've been playing more league racquetball and things as well. I enjoy the competitive side, but also for the actual health benefits. I have no interest in going to the gym to do cardio. I want my cardio in a game form. So I played in, I think it was July time, I actually played a racquetball, men's racquetball match and a team match. And the guy I played was quite fit and got a lot of balls back, but didn't really have that many killer shots. So he kept getting my shots back, and then I kept being able to get his shots back, and I ended up with I won 3-love in the end, but it was like 65 minutes and my heart rate topped out at like 198, and I think I had 25 minutes in that top zone 5, which
which
I don't think I've had in a squash match for an awful long time, because the rallies just didn't end. So actually, but that was perfect. That's perfect for what I want, to be honest. I want that. I'm trying, I'm in there and I'm trying to win, and it just helps me naturally just push there. I hate losing, so I don't want to lose. But it's going to help me get that exercise and those health benefits without it being such a chore, even if at the time I'm cursing that. I think I won the third game 12-10, and I was just going, please win this game. I don't want to play another one. Or I don't know if I can play another one. But actually, it was a hell of a workout. So I do play with the racquetball as well, and I'm lucky that Harrow have a good range of all of them, so I'm able to go from squash to padel and all the way to racquetball as well. So and enjoying playing with all of them and everything. So I will keep playing, that's for sure. And I think we're actually trying to get some of the padel members from the club to play some racquetball as well, whether it's because our courts at my club are outside, uncovered. So in the winter sometimes, either like myself, I just don't like playing when it's too cold, or it's not when it's wet or it's raining. It's really, really not fun to play and sometimes just impossible to play. So, right, I think the racquetball is sort of that hybrid of lower barrier to entry, sort of skill wise. You don't need to warm the ball up. The ball bounces more. You've got more time to get to it. Things like that. So, I think it's a great sort of entry from whether it is from people playing padel to come across, or if it's actually just new members as well. Squash is always going to be the OG, the classic, and that's going to be sort of that centerpiece of that section of the club. But I think we're trying to sort of open up to that racquetball being more of an accessible entry point.
So you say with the racquetball and the squash that you're getting more of that cardio workout. What is it that you enjoy about padel?
I do get a reasonable workout playing padel if it's a good matchup. I think I enjoy, to me, it's a new challenge of trying to learn a new game. Like I said, the tactics are quite different. You've got to work in a pair as well. Playing against different styles, like I would in squash, like working out how you're playing. If I'm playing a different style of player in squash, I could sort of know what to do. Whereas in padel, to start with, I could hit the ball, but I had no idea what I was trying to do with it. So then the more I've played, the more I've learned, and the more understanding I have about what I'm trying to do with it, the more I enjoy it. And that team element is also a challenge for someone that's played an individual sport for such a long time. Yeah. Sort of half individual, half not, because you're the one hitting the shot on your own, but actually if you're not in the right place and your partner's hitting the shot, then you're equally not doing your job. So and being aware of what your job is on which side of the court, or when you're serving or returning, is really important as well. So I'm enjoying that learning and problem solving element.
Yeah. So would you say there are different styles of play of padel?
I mean, yeah, sometimes you can see straight away if somebody's a tennis player or a squash player, or a traditional, played in Spain for a long time kind of padel player. We have some of the women I play on the team with, and you put a smash in and they're just stood waiting for when it comes off the back for exactly where it's going to be, and no matter what spin you put on it, they know where it's going. Whereas to us as sort of squash players, that's quite alien. So we tend to be waiting in completely the wrong place, and the tennis players don't let the ball go near the glass. So
yeah.
So it's you sometimes if you're trying to play a certain style and they're tennis players at the net going and they've got hard volleys, and if you put it in, they're putting it back at you very quickly, and you end up scrambling. That's very different. Otherwise, the traditional padel players won't do that, and then the squash players, you can just watch it go into the glass. So I think it's trying to work out how to play against the different styles it's definitely part of it.
So ideally in your pair you want one squash player and one tennis player.
Yeah, maybe the tennis player deals with the overheads.
Yeah.
And the squash player scrambles around off the glass. Yeah.
What advice would you give to any squash players who are considering trying padel?
I think just either watch some of the instructional videos, or get some lessons, or join in some coaching sessions, so you actually know what you're trying to do. I think is quite important. Just going on, and the squash players tend to slice the ball around a lot, which can be used at times, but when it's used at the wrong time I think the squash players tend to play a bit too fast, and they tend to want to creep forward as well. So learning where those ideal positions are most of the time is quite important, and just forward is not necessarily better. So when you're at the back defending, actually learning to stay a bit further back. But then I think also I see a lot of padel players coming from squash, and we're used to quite a light sort of racket. The squash rackets, mine's 125 grams. Whereas then you go up to the padel, some of them are up to like 375 grams, which is literally three times the weight. So you see a lot of sort of tennis elbow and things from people coming from a squash or even tennis racket to a padel racket. So for me, I I really like this racket because it's light as well. So I would say try not to, have a try them first, but maybe think about one on the lighter end. And to me, I actually play with one that's not too firm. I would say it's quite forgiving on the on the body, and it might not get you the power, but actually you probably, if you not got the control at the start, then it's going to help you with that element. And then maybe when you progress later, then you can sort of think about a more powerful one. But just getting some tips, for me, when I started actually slowing it down and learning when to hit softer, that was that really helps a lot. So I think that would be my sort of main tips.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Let's go on court.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm so happy to see padel and squash speeds stock in all of the Harrow range, and be able to get especially my signature racket out there amongst for use. It's I love it to bits, so I'm just happy other people can play with it as well.
Thank you.